welcome to the World Sports Show here on January 16th, 2017. I'm Charlie Flowe with John DiCriscio and our special guest in studio tonight from the North Carolina Courage, Courtney Niemiec, right out of Philadelphia. Thank everybody for coming in tonight, everybody listening in beautiful Philadelphia. It's been a while. We've been on a little bit of a holiday break. We're back. A lot to talk about in 2017. Look back at 2016 a little bit. But welcome to the show, Courtney. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here tonight.
John, how are everything with you? I know you're flipping and switching and getting the board ready.
That's right.
The multitasking man.
Warming it up.
So, won't try to quiz you at all. But, like I said, we've got a lot to talk about. We will go through a brief little look at the news. One of the big things going on right now in the pro soccer world on the men's side is USL Pro has been granted Division II status by U.S. Soccer starting this year in 2017. So, it's going to be kind of a combined temporarily with the NASL. There's a lot of things up in the air with teams like the Cosmo temporarily folding. We don't know if that's a good or bad thing, if they're going to ever come back. There's a lot of problems in December with their players getting paid and not getting paid. So there's a lot of those crazy stories going on now. And you have some teams in the NASL that are now technically part of the USL. So it's going to be a very interesting situation. It reminds me and you, John, of a couple years ago when you and I were working for the Pennsylvania Roar, when that whole league folded and some teams merged into the new creation of an indoor league, and some teams just never existed ever again.
It just seems like it took a while for the information to come through on what actually was
They kept putting it
happening.
off.
Yeah, you're right.
We didn't know what was going to happen. We were going into the holiday break not knowing and what the status was going to be. But, you know, we've even seen stuff within USL have some issues, but hopefully – you know, the USL Pro teams are here to stay, and then the NASL teams that were well established and did well in their markets, you know, could maintain play, because it's been a really good feeder for MLS players, and it's been a good kind of a setback. If you have an MLS player maybe has an injury and has a hard time getting back onto the pitch, it's a good place to rebuild their career. So it's something we don't want to see. I think that we're a big enough country now that we can sustain having a main league, the USL, being that under whatever the MLS. Now that MLS is here to stay, I think it's very important that we have a feeder system, because a lot of these teams have direct ties with an MLS team, so it's a farm system.
I'm not going to open up a can of worms now, but every time you talk about second division, third division,
yeah,
you hear everybody talking about, is there going to be relegation?
Yeah, and I think that it comes up, but how do you have relegation? Like, look, for example, the Philadelphia Union. They technically have the affiliation with their USL team, the Bethlehem Steel.
That's
now,
right.
how do you do what the team that you own would be above you? That's why I guess it would never happen, because
Right.
I don't think any owner in the top 20-plus teams in the MLS would ever sign off on that, and that's what it comes down to money. Like, if the EPL teams now that exist in the EPL, the 20 teams now, if they could sign a deal saying, all right, we're just going to keep 20 teams and then have a playoff system, no matter how good or bad you do, you will always be in the EPL. Every single team would sign off on that.
Right, it would be a federation issue rather than a ownership issue.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why it will probably never happen, the MLS or even NWSL, if it ever came to the point where you have NWSL teams, when you have affiliation teams, when you have your A-League style teams, that kind of these teams that are semi-pro, where you have the amateur players and pro players that maybe didn't make an NWSL squad and play on these squads. So, but for now, I don't think that we are a big enough soccer community in this country to have relegation and promotion.
Getting there, but not yet, not even close.
It's good that the people are familiar with the terms and understand the concept, but it's still we're still a country built on North American sports, where the top teams that make the playoffs and win the whole thing get the last pick in the draft. We're still a very draft-oriented type of team that doesn't exist in Europe. You don't have the college system as a feeder system. So definitely another subject we could spend hours on. Unfortunately, we only have an hour. And, you know, our guests have to get to bed eventually. I want to have a big shout-out to my Fairmount goalkeepers out there. I know they had some training tonight, and they may be on the road somewhere on I-76. You know, I hope it's not too backed up on the Schuylkill. But I know they're listening, and I want to say a shout-out to them. We had a really good session this past week, John. We spent the entire hour and 15 minutes working on low balls, low shots, low balls, and really working on keepers learning how to place a ball low, too.
Man, that's good.
Yeah, just the entire session low balls. So definitely a very useful skill. I think that's one of the hardest things to do, is save a lower 90. So, and I know as Courtney is a defender, that that's something you really, if you have a goalkeeper that can get low, it saves you a lot of work in the box.
I completely agree. And if goalkeepers are good with footwork, that's also a plus too.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been in those situations where you have the goalie's a little suspect and you're thinking, all right, do I play it wide and play it out of bounds, or do I play it back to my keeper? Because we've seen some people whip a ball to keeper and they can handle any style ball, but I'm sure you've been at both ends where you have a keeper that has no feet and then a keeper that's just better touch than you, maybe.
That is true. I mean, a lot of goalkeepers now in the professional leagues work on their touches a lot more, and it's just easier for us because we can maintain possession of the ball. So if we have a good keeper with great foot skills and we have confidence and we just pass them the ball back, and it's a lot easier for us to maintain the possession still and move the play forward.
I think something that I see a lot in these days is getting, the goalkeepers involved in team training, and I'm all about that. At Philly U, we do a lot of integration where we pull the goalkeepers. I'm lucky I have 5 goalkeepers to work with. But we still do a lot of team integration, a lot of stuff where there is no goalkeeper. So everybody's a field player.
Right. I mean, not only is it the skill, it's chemistry as well. It's having that trust, especially as a defender, whether to play the ball back. It should be automatic, but, when you got a keeper who you doubt a little bit, you kind of hesitate a little bit, and that might cost you a bad bounce and, might give up a goal because of that.
I mean, you look at teams like Germany, they build out of the back. I mean, you look at the last World Cup in 2000 and what year was that, 14, that so much was built out of the back. I mean, you have keepers that are pushing up high. I mean, they're pushing way outside the 18. I mean, the back line's hanging around the halfway, and they can easily play a ball 10 yards back. And it's just, they've become the keeper sweeper. And it got a lot against what I was raised playing. And we're going to about age ourselves here, John. I can remember the old days when keepers could pick up the ball at any point in the game. And I think once they changed that rule in the 90s, it almost created the keeper became the sweeper.
Man, you're going back a little bit.
But that was the hardest transition, because I played fullback all my life, and just telling yourself you didn't have that easy pass back to the keeper to pick up. If you've got a 1-0 game, you just want to milk that clock.
Especially on throw-ins deep in the zone in the corner.
Yeah, throw it to your keeper, catch it. Yep. So do you remember those days at all, Courtney?
I do. I do. It wasn't that too long ago, but I remember them.
So it is interesting how the game has changed, and there's a lot of different rules within the keepers. You and I have talked on the phone a while about that. I like a lot of keeper rules are changing about, keepers can't drop kick it. They can't throw it past half field. And, I can go on for hours how I think it's ridiculous that we're handicapping keepers with skills. Like my nephew, he plays some keeper. Kid can boom a ball 50 yards. Now you're telling me, no, you can't kick the ball. He's got to roll it out to the closest defender. And I get it.
Well,
but
depending on how old he is. It's depending on, is his team able to make a play out of the air?
Yeah.
Is it going to hurt the kid?
Yeah.
But, I mean,
there's a lot of factors.
I think that what they're trying to focus on is, developing play from the back. Defender bringing the ball up, making the play instead of the launch. Less
50-50 collision balls where kids can hurt themselves. So it can be argued both ways.
All right.
It's what age do you start teaching, long ball distribution?
I still love it. I live a couple blocks from the field, and I can still hear the crowd roar. Like, good long ball. Like, the kid just drills the ball, sails it out, and they're all going crazy.
Well, it reminds me like of punt in American football, that you can out-kick your coverage. That you basically the ooh and the ah, as a defender, Courtney, I'm sure you get the cheers in the crowd when you bang a 50-yard clearance, but if you put it to the other team, you've just given them the ball back when you probably had a 5-yard pass to a midfielder 10 feet away. But it's that ooh and ah that a lot of defenders and goalkeepers have hit the panic button at youth level. So when you hit the panic button, your time slows down and things just kind of, coming at you so fast that I think you put a ball too far, not thinking possession instead of like slowing it down, looking for your easy options. So I think that goalkeeper change was one of the best things for soccer. So also we had some FIFA awards go on the last few weeks since we've been on the show. Carly Lord of the USA got named FIFA Best of the Year. It's her back-to-back. She beat out Marta, so good for Carly. It definitely was a little kind of a down year for U.S. women, not qualifying for any type of medal in the Olympics, but overall well-deserved, had an overall good year. And that's the thing is you have to look at the whole year, not just that not winning the gold medal.
It's interesting looking the votes. They have FIFA has the spreadsheet. You can see with the captains who they pick their vote and which the media who, it's interesting to see those small countries who, the newly formed countries who they voted for. Some players are, not even in the top 3 as far as, voting, but they still give the nod. So it's interesting. It's all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason for which country is voting for who, but I guess the captain.
Yeah, you can really get 3 votes and be the player of the year.
The captain gets a pick, right?
Yeah.
The coaches get a pick. The media gets a pick. So was spread all over the place. But
we'll remind you of games we've covered as media when they'll come up to us in the press box and ask us to vote for player of the game in the 75th minute. I'm like, dude, it's 0-0. How are we voting for player of the game?
Right.
it's one of those things where I will never understand a lot of these voting procedures. To me, it should be more statistically based and country result based.
Right, and as you know, defenders never get the credit that they should.
Never. I mean, I think Becky Sauerbrunn, I think Julie Johnson should be up there too. Like, they deserve it. Like, but I really, truly think that Carly Lloyd deserved it. Like, she puts in work day in and day out, and you can just see it through her hustle. And she proved it the past 2 years why she deserved it, and she wants to keep on going. And more power to her.
I mean, it's when you're the player of the year last year and you win the World Cup, you automatically have a target. You know, it's how you handle that adversity, and she still kept playing her game. You know, and I think that a lot of people don't realize that the U.S. team is human. They're going to lose a game. I mean, that was a tough situation going against their former team manager, you know, Pia Sundhagen, and she understands their game and found a way. Park the bus is how you beat the USA.
Exactly.
Oh, some days.
That day, 9 times out of 10, U.S. wins, but it just so happened that one day. So, and Germany's, head coach, she got the FIFA, best player, coach of the year, well deserved. She had an 11-year career, 3 times win it, pulls off the gold medal in Rio. So, I mean, that's the team that probably would have won the World Cup if they had beaten USA in the semifinals last summer. So, or 2 summers ago. So, well deserved. Germany, Brazil, USA, Sweden, those big 4 countries are always in medal talk and always players of the year, coaches of the year. And you look on the men's side, Claudio Ranieri got it for Leicester City. He had a great run, and Ronaldo wins it for the 4th time in a row, winning FIFA Best. I mean, you look at up until this weekend, Real Madrid had won 40. We're unbeaten. Let's say 140 straight. We're unbeaten in 40 straight matches. I mean, that's just unheard of.
Right.
Just unbeaten. So, well-deserved. I mean, what I'd like to see when I look at these FIFA things is when I started thinking about my ideas of who player of the year is and coach of the year, that you have international coach of the year and club coach of the year, because they're 2 different things to coach.
Right.
I mean, you've got a different pool of players. It's automatically you have international, but what coach out there did the best with a domestic squad? What female coach did the best with, or it could have been a male coach in the NWSL, but who did the best with their professional team? Because I think managing these professional teams is very difficult because you have all these international dates where you've dealt with that in the NWSL, Courtney, where you're losing your best players so they're going off to camp.
Yeah, where half our starting lineup just has to leave for a weekend or miss a game, and it's just the way our coach just already has players put in their positions. But some coaches already have that, and some coaches don't. But that's just what we need to work on. But that's all about building a roster. We need more roster space. And
yep, I think that we saw that on Paul Riley in 2010 here in Philadelphia when they had or 2011, a World Cup call up, that he had a very heavy international appearance, but international that weren't qualified for the World Cup, and you have to make that kind of gamble on a World Cup or an Olympic year that you might have a strong roster that doesn't have a lot of players that are going off to an international tournament. So you'd have to strike hard and fast when those international players are gone. You lost some players, but some players are able to fill in just as well, and you might lose your job. So very interesting FIFA picks. We're going to turn the page over to the NWSL draft. Happened this past week in L.A. Boston had the first pick, and they went with a player out of Wisconsin, Rose Lavelle. Very good pick. I mean, it's one of these, the 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 can easily be interchanged. I think it's a more matter of what you need as a team at the time.
That's a good professional call there. The
Thank
top
you. Appreciate
5
it.
can be interchangeable.
It's very good. Well, when you're
Any
Boston,
team's first pick could be the first pick.
Well, if you're Boston, you got the 1 and 3 pick. I think you have an idea. Like you pretty much control the board. And if you look at Boston of the top 10 picks, Boston had 4 of the top 10 picks. So they were really holding all the cards in that first round.
Right. One thing that I noticed looking at the draft results is basically your trades occurred this year a lot later than previous years.
Yeah.
Letting me know that there's value in the mid-round, actually end of the second round or early third round. I mean, they're making deals for, trading up to, let's say, 11th for a first-round pick next year.
Yeah.
So there's value there. I mean, they're fitting needs, but, there's, moving – that's a pretty hefty price to pay, for a second rounder. You know, now for a first pick next year.
Well, that's the thing too. You have a lot of talent on the board, but is it the talent you need now that, hey, we're willing to wait till next year? We're going to sit on who we have now, and that's the thing is a Boston team who finished bottom of the table, they have to build today. And then you have other teams like the team you were just with that's now the North Carolina Courage, that you guys come off a championship win with the Flash, and you're more addressing small needs. You've got a championship team already there. We know you can win the whole thing, where Boston, I think they got 3 wins. They're just trying to rebuild and try to target that 4th spot to get in the playoffs.
I think that, best available player, at first at the top of the draft.
Yeah.
But when you get in these mid rounds, I guess starting mid-second round, you're looking to fit that position. I mean, it's so competitive, with those little amount of teams as there in the league where, you got some high-power players coming out where, there's needs are going to be met to compete. Like, everybody wants to win a championship that year. So I don't think we're building, 1 or 2 years is really, in the thought process. I think it's let's go, let's get in there, and so let's start winning some games.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is it's such a competitive league. You can't wait around for years and years and years. I think that the fan base and the people are smart enough to realize that you have to win now. You can't wait around, especially with the way we see the league expanding. We have players that leave for Europe, and players get called up for international duties and sometimes put more focus in international. We've had players just only commit to international. So I think it's, like you said, you can't sit around and build. So, and, just looking at your situation, Courtney, you didn't get drafted, but, you still found your way onto a roster. A lot of people realize that some of these 3rd and 4th round draft picks, not to be the bearer of bad news, but sometimes that's not a guarantee to make the team.
That's true, but I also, going into Portland undrafted, I was a new person, I was the rookie, but my roommate was someone who was drafted, and she ended up not even making the team. And every day we just helped each other, even though she was on the team and had a contract and had a roster spot, and I didn't, but we both helped each other out because we didn't know what the outcome would be. And here I ended up getting a contract, and she didn't, and she was the one drafted. But it comes down to how hard you work, and you just keep chasing your dreams, honestly.
I think scouting is one of the hardest things I do with my college job, and it is a very difficult thing because you see a player on a certain platform or certain level playing at a certain thing, and it's just a lot of it's based on what we've seen you do in college, what we've seen you do in your club team, and it's based upon promise of word of mouth that you happen to have an awesome coach in Paul Royal that is real good friends with Paul Riley, that taking somebody's word is the biggest thing when I'm recruiting players, is having a coach vouch for you.
I agree. That was the most happiest moment, knowing Paul Royal knew Paul Riley, because that was my in. Yeah. And that's all I needed was an in, because I came from LaSalle University, not a well-known soccer school back then, but I didn't go to USC or Stanford like that to be drafted. So I just had to work my way up, and I just needed the word of mouth, and that's what got me there.
Yeah, I've been to had some great conversation with Paul Royal, and it was a coaching conference he spoke at Drexel this past year, and he talked about LaSalle players having one of the highest GPAs of all the athletes, and there's things like that I even look at. I mean, recruiting high school players, they have to have a certain GPA to get into a college, but something like that too is that players that have a good academic record, that shows intelligence, and as a coach, I'm always looking for intelligent players that can grow and understand the game and can evolve, because at the pro level, you're running all different types of systems you may have never seen before.
I agree, and that's one thing he taught us, to always drive into what we do, either academics, either athletically, in life, just whatever way, just keep on driving at it and be the best. And that's why he always wanted us to have the best GPA at LaSalle, because we never wanted to come second. We always wanted to be in first, but that's just something you take within your whole life.
Yes, definitely. We're going to dig more into Courtney Niemiec's career. You played for Portland Thorns, Western New York Flash, and now you're part of the North Carolina Courage, which is the Western New York Flash move to Carolina this past week. I think it was kind of interesting. It all went down last week, and you'll be shipping off to North Carolina soon, so you'll be going south this year instead of going north.
I'm excited. It's going to be warmer weather, that's for sure. It's
always a good news for a player. Your preseason's south. You're going for the south for the winter. To remind everybody listening to World Sports Show on WPPM LP Philadelphia. I'm Charlie Flowe, and he's John DiCriscio. We're here with Courtney Niemiec of the North Carolina Courage. Just breaking down the NWSL draft. We're going to dip into a trip that I took back in December and made some really good connections down in good old Turks and Caicos Islands. I ended up connecting with the Turks and Caicos national team down there, and they put on a very, very awesome 9v9 U20 game, and I was able to identify some really, really good players. And I think that it's a very untapped resource, that on my college team, we have about 4 Caribbean players. 2 are actually straight from the Caribbean. 2 are here because their families moved here. But it's one of those things where when I watch a youth game, the first thing I look for is communication of the players, working together as a team, where there are players that stick out a little bit better than others. But one thing I think that when recruiting, when you see players work together and communicate, like there was so much talking and chatter in this game, was unbelievable.
How much do you value pregame? I mean, I'm sure as a scout you're looking at the total from when you see them to when they leave.
Yeah, I was able to get to their facility. The game was at 6:30. It was actually a whole story about how it was originally supposed to be one of the pro teams play the U20 team, but the pro team didn't really show up. So fortunately, I ended up looking at it as a benefit. They ended up making it 9. They moved the goals in about 10 yards up to the 18, and they played a 9v9 little scrimmage. But I think what was cool is I got there at 5:30, and I went straight to the locker room of the U20 team. They're very quiet, very serious, putting their jerseys on. They were all dressed and ready. I mean, I got there at 5:30, and they were dressed and ready to rock and roll to go. No late showers. So, that's one thing I look for in these high school kids is discipline. Have your boots on and be ready to go. Like if your coach says you're hitting the field at 5:30, I say you better be there at 5. There's a lot of pregame stuff you do before you even warm up, and that's just me personally of how I value players. I'm sure you have your own little pregame rituals too, Courtney. If coach says be in the locker room by 5, whatever, I mean, what is your prep like going into that day?
You just got to make sure you're mentally prepared, but more importantly, honestly, it's all about the music in the locker room. You got to make sure your team chemistry's fine. You got to make sure girls are ready dancing, and then once you step on the field, you're serious and you're ready to go.
A little different, I guess. Is there any different locker room from the college to pro levels at all? Any different?
Not really. I think sometimes in the pro level, I think some girls are a little more serious. They have their own headphones on, but like there's still like the couple of girls that just like to dance, to like to do juju on the beat, to just like throw your own little dance moves in there, which gets girls going. It gets their mind. It gets them less stressed. And
yeah, I know the feeling as a coach when our guys do that at Philadelphia University. Sometimes me and the coaches just go into our own little room because like that's the last thing I ever want to do is mess with a pregame. They don't need to hear it from me. They don't need a pep talk from me. They've gotten it all week. So I really liked how Turks and Caicos players handled it in business. I think they were a lot of a little more nervous because they hear a college coach that's coming to look at them. And it's different when it's a tryout type of game, like a college ID type of thing, than just a game, just to play. So and that comes with age. I was the player that threw up before games. With just my nerves. I'm dead serious, dude. I've probably killed quite a few ants in my days. I would go behind the goal box. Sometimes it was just a weird thing. Like there's a lot of athletes out there like Donovan McNabb, but I didn't do it during the game. It's weird. Once that first whistle blew, it just disappeared. I think it's all the hype in your head leading up to a game just got to me and just.
You just put yourself in the same shoes as Donovan McNabb. I see how you work that in there. You know what I mean?
We're both ringless. Right. We share a lot in common. I didn't win a Super Bowl either.
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing is a big incentive during the week. DJ in a van when we go on our away games. That's huge.
Oh yeah,
my players will play for the right to put whatever they want on the way. So that's our pregame, like best player of the week gets the DJ.
I agree. Usually, like you have one person that runs the locker room music or one person that runs the bus music.
Yep.
Just because their music style is just what everyone likes.
Yeah.
That's just how it sets the vibes.
So true, because I gravitate toward certain players, and there are certain players that I'm like, we just have. It's funny because we usually would travel. Maybe sometimes when we travel sort of local, we wouldn't have the Greyhound style bus. We would have the 3 vans. We would travel in 3 vans at Philly U, and it was funny. The buses started getting kind of broken up by style of music. Okay. So somehow I ended up with the club dancing, like techno clubbing. That was my van. I don't know. It just kind of happened.
I asked my kids a consensus, what type of music do they think I listen to in my own car? And they all said country. Like, I know it's on radio, but I don't really listen to country at all. So I got the dirty.
You don't come across as that. You come across as a metal guy.
Country music. So
country.
So I just put Chesney on whenever they.
I mean, I'm nothing against country, but I would never listen to country pregame anything.
Never. In the summertime, I listen to country, but not for a pregame.
Nah, not on a pregame.
Throw a little wagon wheel on in there.
I don't know who you're going to try to fake out with them moves. So, yeah, I used to listen to, gosh, man, this is going back, a lot of NWA. See, I'm older, so I would listen to a lot of Eazy-E and NWA before I played. I would try to act like a gangster, I guess, before I played.
No yellow, red cards during the game?
There was not many games I didn't get a card.
Come out, throw up, get a red card.
Yeah, exactly. That's a hat trick, man. NWA, throw up in a hat trick. Just another day in the office, So, I don't know. I used to read a quote that said, I'm not a dirty player, but I play to win.
Wow. I'm going back, man. But I don't even want to show my age.
Dude, you're the same age as me, dude.
And man, it was like I remember kids would try and be funny and put I'm going back to like Vanilla Ice, trying to put that on in the van on the way to games.
Really?
It's like, what if it's their turn? They got it, so we had.
That's a violation. Yeah. What do you listen to? Informer and Snow and stuff too?
No, we're talking early '90s, buddy.
Some Color Me Bad.
Yeah.
Putting all kinds of good tunes on. Just remind everybody out there you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPN LP Philadelphia. I'm Charlie Flowe with John DiCriscio, and Courtney Niemiec didn't know what she was getting herself into tonight.
I didn't, but this is exciting. I like it.
Yeah, so it flies by, and it is interesting, all the pregame things of what athletes do, and the players were so serious, and like you said, John, back to the whole warm-up. If you warm up professionally and like a team, a lot of these little things show up so much when college coaches are looking at high school coaches, like the player that doesn't argue, just goes about their business. Because, every once in a while you get these club teams, kids, I don't warm up, I don't do that. They'll tell me that. I don't do that drill. I don't do that. I'm like, I think it's some of the generations have changed now of some of these young 15, 16-year-old kids that work with that tell me I don't do that. Yeah. I'm like, okay, kid, you don't do that. Well, you ain't going to get a shutout today either. So you try to give them advice. So, but I think that's the biggest thing is following the coaches, because it's not that we know the best, but we have your best interest in mind. So definitely want to give a shout out to the Turks and Caicos national team for hosting us and having us. They were awesome guests. They have a great facility there, and they're members of FIFA. They joined FIFA in '98. So I'm actually going back down there February 8th. They have a college ID clinic. I can't wait to share with you guys, what they've got going on there. They have a lot of great players. They have 3 players now that are playing in junior college, but the whole idea is getting a lot of these players into JUCOs, getting them into Division II, Division I. I think that the skills are there. It's just getting these players into colleges, and I think that's the biggest thing is just growing that network of junior colleges, and there's just so much talent in the Caribbean because of their work ethic. There's that whole thing they do studies on, South Pacific type players, Polynesian players that play in the NFL. They're like 4,000 or 400 times greater chance of playing in the NFL than any, North American style kid because of their work ethic. That everything is earned on the island. That these are the kids that are waking up, working. These kids have jobs, working, going to school. And I just cannot wait to share more stories with you about it. And we have more stuff on worldsportshow.com. We'll have more interviews coming up on our YouTube page. But we're going to take a quick break, catch our breath. We'll be right back. World Sports Show, WPPM, LP Philadelphia.
This is Denisha Adams, and you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia.
Last week on World Sports Show.
In studio guest, Adam Bruckner.
Very interesting. I don't know if you guys have been watching, Adam and John have been watching all the MLS playoffs, but it's just so interesting to think that Montreal had a 3-zip lead and then lose 7-5 on aggregate.
Yeah, I was able to watch Maryland play just a little bit in the NCAAs this year, and they had the same thing happen to them. They were playing Providence, and you would think a team could never blow a 3-goal lead because that team's got to be so much better than the other. But man, it's a sport of humans, and I know there's been some studies that say there's no such thing as momentum, but that's crap. You give up that first goal, and then you're like, all right, we're still all right. You give up that second goal, and you're thinking. It hurts so much more to lose a game you were winning big than to lose a game where it was close the whole way.
I know the feeling.
And you start to crap your pants a little bit, and you start to think, I don't want to make the mistake, and the other team starts to think, I got nothing to lose. We were losing this game 3-0, and we had a game when I was in high school. We were losing 3-0. The other team took all their best players out. 15 minutes left. We came back and we stole the game. We got into overtime and ended up we scored 3 goals in 15 minutes. And
jeez.
It's the only time you don't see that stuff happen in outdoor soccer.
And now, back to the WPPM studios in Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show.
Welcome back to the World Sports Show. Charlie Flowe, John DiCriscio, Courtney Niemiec. It's natural for radio. Is this your first time being on radio, Courtney? I never really asked you before we went on.
It's my first time being in the studio. I did it my rookie season in Portland, but I did it through a phone, so it was completely different.
Yes, it's a lot easier. We tell guests. We have a lot of people that say, I'll just call into the show. As much as we don't mind people calling into the radio show, it is much easier in person, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
It's not a lot of that. You know when to speak, you know when it's your turn, and you can read body language, and it's easy to say, we got a break or we got to let you go. And you don't have to worry about drop calls either. We've been there before, too.
We've been there plenty of times. We've
Drop
been through
call.
thunderstorms, dogs barking.
Somebody in the
kids crying,
bathroom.
Somebody,
some LA.
Somebody going through a drive-in.
Dude, I swear it was a guy from LA,
crazy.
LA Galaxy beat writer calling. I swear the dude was taking a dump or something. I don't know what the dude was
man.
doing. Hey, that's not an FCC violation, man. But there's an interesting thing when people call. You try to explain to them, because a lot of times people don't understand radio. Everything in the background picks up, dude, and it's magnified.
That's right.
Baby crying, dogs barking, cats crying.
I'll tell you what, I can guarantee in every show that we've done in here, within the first 10 minutes, I whack my head. I hit it on the microphone. You'll probably hear it when you listen to the show again here.
Yeah.
Every time. And I know it's here.
Yeah.
But I do it every time.
It's okay.
Man, you got to fire me.
Well, then who's going to run the show, man?
Good question.
Exactly. We can't fire the producer of the show.
Right.
And that's the hardest part, man. Just me talking and running my mouth. That's the easy part.
Producer that's hitting his head in on microphone. Yeah, I want that guy to do
Yeah,
the
keep
show.
producing, dude. Well, that's the production side. So, again, here with Courtney Niemiec, North Carolina Courage. I have to get used to saying that. That is one of the new teams in NWSL. Very exciting, really cool logo. It's an old throwback to the old USW. I can't even speak. Old school days of women's soccer. So, very excited to have a team. I think it's really good, a great ownership behind them, and that's the big thing is having facilities in an established club, because you don't want to be involved with a club that just shows up and, hey, we're doing soccer. I mean, with the Railhawks, they've been a household name in the Open Cup.
So, off the subject, the one thing I'm looking forward to when I get down and check you guys play is the barbecue.
I'd already thought about
Really?
that.
Do they have good food down there?
What are you kidding? Oh, that's a Northeast Philly girl. Like
I was like up in Buffalo because my favorite food's the buffalo wings. So that was a hit up there.
Oh, that's another question I think we'll break down until when we actually break down into Courtney's story is where we'll tell you all about. See, my father's from North Carolina. They talk like this down there. That's what, I'm not trying to make fun of nothing, but my dad is from Mountains, North Carolina.
That's one thing we got to do is make a reel of your impressions.
They are
Like
horrible.
If you didn't say North Carolina, I wouldn't have thought North Carolina right there. I'm
They,
like, whoa.
they have no rhyme or reason.
That is true.
But no disrespect
Boy.
to the North Carolinians. I spent many summers in North Carolina, good old Edenton and Nags Head, North Carolina, where my grandparents owned a house. But yeah, Carolina barbecue, Courtney, man, you were in for a treat.
The Triangle area, Raleigh, Durham, Cary,
People say
Morrisville.
KC. Nah, man, North Carolina barbecue is the best barbecue in the world.
It's up there.
Yeah, so I hope you have a good workout plan. If you plan to be involved in the barbecue partaking.
I'm sure the tailgates for the games are going to be
Oh,
great.
my God. Like, you're going to get a whole
Get that
turducken leg.
Big trail.
So we're going to bust into the old mailbag, and after the mailbag, we'll break down Courtney's story. It's an amazing story. You know, I just can't wait to tell it. I don't even know it myself. So, we're going to look at the mailbag right now. We got some questions directed at Courtney. We weren't going to show them before the show. We're going to surprise her. Tammy from North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, asks, what was the toughest transition going from the college to the pro game?
I think it was the competitiveness in the practice every day. Every day was like a game day.
Wow.
And that was just kind of tough because my rookie season in Portland, I was playing against players like Tobin Heath, Alex Morgan, Christine Sinclair. I had Nadine Anger behind me in goal. But I think I learned from them so much more. Like having them guide me throughout my whole rookie season, that helped me a lot. But every day was a battle. You would get beat up every day, and it's just mentally got to push yourself through it. And I think that was the biggest thing, was just mentally get myself through the season.
Especially when you go into college, a lot of times you're already signed on, you're on the team. Whether your play time is up to you and the coaching staff, but the pro level, you're playing for a job at tryout.
Every day you play for your job. Every single day you play for your position. Like, you're not just because you won that position that day, that does not mean you're starting that position tomorrow.
Next question comes in from Sandy in Freehold, New Jersey for Courtney. Do you have any pregame rituals?
I do. I tie my left shoe first, and I make sure I listen to Eminem.
Any particular song at all, or just Eminem period?
Just Eminem period, because I love him as a rapper.
There you go. So, hey, you and I got that in common, a little rap to hype us up.
Left shoe first.
Left shoe first. Huh. Never did the shoe thing, so.
I'm pretty particular, even though I'm not a pro soccer player, but my shoelaces, even now, I'm real particular.
I only know it because I have my tattoo on my left foot, so I always look at it before my game. So
is that how you remind yourself left foot?
Left foot first, my tattoo's there, so that's what I do.
Anyway, that'll open up a can of worms. I won't be mean. I'll be nice. So, which NWSL team improved the most with the draft? Hannah from New York.
Is that going?
That's just an everybody question.
There you go. You started.
I think Boston. I mean, you got 4 of the first 10. I mean, how?
I agree.
It's hard to predict now because we're in January predicting the draft, but based on who they got, I mean, you've got some really, really big names in the first round.
Got Rose Lavelle, first pick. I mean, I think they just went for the strongest players because that's what they need to build their team.
Yep.
I think from that, they could build chemistry.
Yep.
And just getting good players because that's what they need. Losing today, they lost Kaya, and they need good players to take their positions. And I completely agree that Boston ran away with this draft.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it you draft by good players and then good players in certain programs. When you pick a player from USC, you know what you're getting. You get players from, I mean, you look at the other players in the draft, like Wisconsin, that's Big Ten soccer's good, and Cal, you're talking some really good, Pac-10, West Coast type of teams. So certain programs automatically get that thing, and that's one of the things that, not that LaSalle's a bad school, it's not one of the big conferences known for winning national championships. So you have to really prove yourself, where a lot of these other players were so highly recruited. You do know to a certain level what you're going to get on average. I mean, it doesn't always pan out. We've seen players in these schools not make the league. So it's just up to the player at the next level. But it just has to be hands down Boston. So
I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
I can't argue with it.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. So
no, not at all.
We'll see for Boston, and I think we really want to see Boston improve. You want to see this league be as competitive as possible. You want to come down to the last couple of weeks where every team's got a fighting chance, where you don't want to see any team starting getting eliminated in June or July. You want to see them battling all the way through. So, but we're going to go through and talk about Courtney Niemiec's pro career, college career, high school career, club career. How did it all get started? How did you get into soccer?
I mean, I kind of played every sport. I have 2 older brothers, and I just hung around with them mostly. Like, I hung around with all boys. I played soccer during soccer season. I played basketball during basketball season, and I played softball during softball season. And I just grew on it, and then I kind of grew out of the club level and wanted to play for a better soccer team. And I think soccer just took over. And I went from Brysburg Club to PSC Copa in Philly. And then I just went on from there.
Now, you were telling me something earlier before we went on the air about you being 8 years old playing on a U12 boys team.
Yep.
Is that a fact that we can look up? I didn't see it on your Wikipedia, so Wikipedia is not a trusted source.
I don't think Brysburg has that on their webpage, but I'll make sure to point it out.
Wikipedia is the truth.
Is the
truth.
Everything up there is the truth.
The truth.
We were joking on the way in. We were going to do fake soccer news. That's the big thing obsessed in media now is fake news. Fake soccer news. But that's the thing is, I mean, that's just impressive whatsoever. I mean, was it more, because I know you're taller, you're about 5'8", 5'9"-ish, depending on what Wikipedia version of your page you look at. Did you grow fast as a child? Was it more of your skill and your tenacity that got you onto these, older, boys' teams?
I think it just came around hanging out with the boys all the time, just like they treated me like I was a boy. So I would play with them, and my brother's 3 years older than me, so I think that's why that made me grow a lot quicker. And that's why I was always with them, people who were 3 years older than me. So I just continued to play 3 years up and always with boys because that was the competitiveness that I needed.
Now, when did it start, kind of where you actually started going back to the girl side? What age, where it came to the point where you started playing more on the girl side?
When I was 10, I went and played for the U12 girls team and then realized that it just wasn't cutting it, and then went to the Copa side to play on a select level that actually was competitive for me that I could play in. And that just took me up from there.
Yeah, that can always be the thing there, that you have players that you want to stay loyal to your local club, but sometimes you're a big fish in a little pond, and you got to stretch your I guess fins out if you want to stay nautically comparing it. But I think that's the trying to look for the words there, big fish, little pond. But no, it's true that I think that's the neat part about there's always been that debate where if you're stuck in a school system like the elementary team, the middle school team, high school, you are stuck within the zip code that you're assigned to play. I think the neat part about soccer is that if you find that this club is a good club, but you need to be more exposed, and if you really want to go on to the next level, like college ball and even later down the road pro, that you really need to have that exposure and playing with higher players because they're only going to make you better.
Yeah, but you got to do that certain age group. Like parents now are trying to take their kid at age 8 to like a select team, and I'm like, you're 8 years old. They didn't grow yet. Like maybe wait a little bit and then take them. Yeah,
12's a good age.
Like
to
they're
really
too young for that right now, but
shuffle them like cattle. That it becomes more of the business side of it, and they kind of lose that childhood.
Right.
I mean, I'm lucky I didn't get into soccer until like 7th, 8th grade. I just was a kid and played a lot of rec ball. And I think that's the neat thing is that it's not always the worst thing to be a rec player. I was a rec player all my life. So I think there's still a lot of that, kind of that stigma, that, oh, he or she's a rec player. Oh, he's a rec coach. So what, man? They're still playing soccer.
Like, I still play rec now in the women's leagues. I'll bat Fishtown, Schisler.
Do you put like a fake sunglasses on so they don't know who you are?
No.
Where's a fake, jersey? I don't know who Courtney Niemiec is. I've never heard of her.
Nah, I just go and just mess around a little bit.
Yeah. What's that competition like when you're playing some of these women? Because you have some pretty good D1 players that that still can knock around the ball.
Yeah,
or ex-D1 players, meaning kind of retired players.
A lot of them, like there's just one good team that's really good, and they're all D1 players, and it's kind of cool that you see them still kicking the ball around, like the whole women's team, and it's kind of like more so the fun aspect of it, like not losing the game, always loving the game, and they know, I mean, they go hard. They'll go hard, like no matter what, they'll go hard, like it's still college, but that's just where I learned not to go hard into tackles and not to get hurt, but it's still fun.
Now, is this something we're fast-forwarding it, like after your pro career? Is that something you think you'll still want to do is play, like pick up soccer and go play in these co-ed type of league or women's leagues? That's something you always want to do?
No, I'll always do that. I'll play with my kids. I'll play with my grandkids. I'll always be playing.
I mean, that's the thing, the answers I love to hear, because there's that fine line between so many players, John, we've met. And you probably know personally they get burnt, that whole burned out thing. And I know plenty of players like that. By the time they're 23, 24, if they don't get drafted, they won't even try to make a pro team. They just kind of have that, they hit that peak and they just kind of, I wouldn't say quit. They're just like, I'm done. But then they won't even go play pickup leagues or coach. They just walk completely away from the game. And it's just, that breaks my heart.
Yeah, that just comes back to the mental side when when the girl asked the question saying what was the hardest part about becoming your rookie season was the whole mental aspect. And that's just when you have a strong mind, and that literally will take you anywhere.
No, it's so true. I mean, it's great to see people that are just a fan of the game, because you always wonder that there's a reason you got into this game. I think that you have to get in the game for the love of the game, but we have so many kids, like you said, the U8 kids, that the parents are pushing them to that exhaustion level where they're not actually enjoying the game, where it becomes more of a job. And I think that we still, especially the U8, U10 level, it's just got to be fun. And that there's too much theory, too much formation. Like, I'm very loose when I coach the really little kids. I tell them, just go and have fun, man. Everybody gets equal play time. I firmly believe up until at least U15, equal play time for everybody. I mean, I'm the coach that Saturday game, Friday night, I make a spreadsheet of all my players, find out who's going to be at the game, and I break down all the minutes for every player and already have my substitutes premeditated. Everything's that I have a sheet that says every minute, different subs, every equal play time.
So you mean to tell me that under 8 players aren't going to win the World Cup? Like some coaches
yeah, that's not going to be a make or break for the USA.
I'm being funny, but honestly,
it's true. We're targeting 2040. Are we going to win the World Cup? This is serious, kid. You got to take consideration.
It's funny, but I mean, honestly, you see,
Dude,
a quarter of the teams, and it's like, wow, coach, you're not going to win the World Cup tonight.
That's why I don't coach young kids.
Right.
Because I want to win, so that's why I don't want to coach young kids.
At least you're honest. I have no problem. I can't even tell you my record of any youth team that I coached. My college record, I keep that in mind, because that's when it's serious business. We're here to win.
Yeah.
But it depends on your athletic director, that yes, winning is important, but also student athlete. I'm sure Paul would say, oh yeah, we're undefeated, but we got a D average. That ain't going to float well with the school.
Definitely. We won't be able to practice.
Yeah, exactly.
He won't let us practice.
Yeah, you've got some great stories about, like Paul Royal and LaSalle always talks about his players having the highest GPA and how you help other athletes, and then you guys are doing homework. You even told me you did homework in his office.
Yeah, he would make me come in his office, write my time, and I would have to do my homework right next to him. Sometimes he would even tutor me to do my homework.
Wow.
But because he was that strict and being a student first and athlete second, and he wanted to make sure that was handled before we would go and practice or before we would go away trip.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And it is such a difference between the genders that I see in the college coaching, because a lot of times for budgets, you're doubling up. The boys and girls teams are traveling together on the road. Did you guys ever do that at LaSalle, or did you always travel separate?
We never traveled with the boys.
Oh, we'd double up on a bus, man. We're sitting 2 to 3 a seat, man. It was painful.
Really?
Oh, man. Different schools, different budgets. So, but it was always interesting to see that I don't think a single one of my men players were doing homework to and from the game. Half of the female players are doing homework on the way back from a game, reading a book or writing a paper, and it's interesting the different genders of how they handle after the game. Some are doing homework on the bus back.
Yeah, so to the game, I wouldn't be able to do it.
No,
but
to the game, yeah.
From the game, I mean, if we won, yeah.
Yeah.
If we lost, I would have to mentally prepare myself and
That'd
do my
be a
homework,
horrible
but that's
paper if you
kinda-
lost.
Yeah, it's a bad idea.
And what was that experience like? Just being on the road, because growing up in the Philly area, you probably did local cups, but nothing like overnight, gone for a few day type of trips.
Yeah, I liked it. I love being on the road. I love visiting new places. I love going out there, like trying the new foods and trying seeing the different cultures, and it was fun.
Now, what were some of the places you traveled in your years at LaSalle?
We went out to Seattle one, and we played Washington, and we played Portland. I think Seattle was my probably favorite place we went to. We didn't really travel that far. I mean, we went to Ohio, but didn't really travel a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing of the Atlantic 10. A lot of your rivals are all within, especially you got several D1 schools just right here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, just driving distance pretty much.
You can walk to the game for, But a lot of players say sometimes those trips like to Seattle, sometimes you're more mentally prepared because you don't have any of your distractions. Not that family is a distraction, but you still have family in the area that can easily reach you and your friends and stuff. But when you're on the road, it's all business.
Yeah, and it's exciting for us too because you're in a new area. You're on the West Coast. We're an East Coast team, and it was the farthest we ever traveled. And we're playing better teams and new teams to us, so it was kind of good for us.
And even the same aspect when you're playing in Portland, you're getting to see new cities and getting to see big stadiums, and I think that's one of my bucket list things is to go to a game in Portland, and you've been on the side of it where you're wearing a jersey. And was that the biggest crowd you've ever played in front of?
I'm from LaSalle University. We're lucky if we would get 100 fans at our game, and then going within a month later going to Portland and drawing 22,000 was just.
That's a slow Tuesday,
Yeah, they averaged 22,000. I walked out and I was just like, wow, just like all right, this is what I'm in for. And
just the feeding off that, I mean, John and I used to playing soccer in the 80s and 90s, same thing. We'd get maybe 20, 30 people at our games. And I played in a stadium in high school that held 10,000, but that was for football. You're lucky you said we got 10 people.
10 people. That's about
and
right.
And half of them are related to you.
Right. Yeah, all parents.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then the whole thing with the roses and the post game and just that environment, just what is that locker room atmosphere like? I mean, how much of it can you hear when you're walking up the tunnel and you're going into that stadium?
It's just you hear everything. You hear the banging. You're in your locker room. You hear the Rose City Riveters already singing their songs. That's just that just gives you the chills. I have the chills right now. It gets you pumped, even though that was 2 years ago, but it was still an amazing feeling. And just having them behind your back, sometimes those were the moments. Those were the people that pushed you to play that extra minute or that overtime.
And just looking at just that whole culture in Portland, they've been really adopting of the game of soccer, kind of like the ambassadors for this icon city that we want to see every NWSL, every MLS stadium sold like that. Everybody's trying to figure out how can we be like that, get all the crowds there, because we've all seen NWSL stadiums that are packed and ones that only have a few hundred. And what was the culture like in the city? There's a lot of stories of people knew who you are in the town.
Yeah, they would people would tweet at us hey, I just saw you in the supermarket. People would buy us coffees. You would walk in the street and they'd be like, hi, how you doing? Can I get a picture with you? And we're just like, yeah. But then you go up in Buffalo and it's just oh, I play for the Flash. Who's that? Yeah. And we're just and we're trying to establish ourselves, and it's just it's crazy. But without the Thorns, I don't think the NWSL would be that established. You need them. They're a main factor, main club in this league.
So what was your go-to wing spot? You said you're a wings fan. I'm going to come back to that because John and I love to talk food on this show. I mean, we've always talked about having a segue show to World Food Show or something, but what was your wing spot in Buffalo?
It was actually pretty cool. I got to go to the Wing Fest, the Wing Festival, and there was like over 20 stands like from all over the world. But I would say my favorite ones have to be from Duff's.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that one.
That's like their main one out there. But Duff's and Barbell is pretty good too. Barbell is like a little hidden gem.
Okay.
So how much heat as far as hot wings?
See, I'm not hot-wise. I just like the Buffalo style. What do you guys like?
I mean, I like a barbecue wing, but I kind of like 1 to 10 scale. I guess I'm a wuss, maybe an 8 on hot. Unless I got a lot of cold beverages to go along with that. You know, that's the thing. Is the hotter you get, I'm going to need more beverages to down it.
I mean, I did try Triple Atomic at the Gas and Lube. Is that what that place was called?
Quaker Steak.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
they
I
have
tried
those down in Virginia
the Triple Atomic one. Like, you had to eat like 6 of them.
Oh,
yeah,
no way.
I ate one, and my mouth and tongue swelled. I couldn't, like, I was crying.
I think I went there, not the top one, but it was maybe 3 down on the list, and it was a lot.
It was,
heat.
yeah. We did it. That was one of our trips from LaSalle on the way back from playing St. Bonnie's.
Oh, you stopped out and just some wings?
Yeah, Paul Royal bought them and see if anyone would try them, and me and Amy were the stupid ones to try them. And
how does that work? You're on the injured reserve. I got to play her out next week. She's got like a burned tongue. It's like I don't know how that works.
It was rough. It was rough.
Oh, that's an amazing experience. Just like you said, getting to know people. And I think the neat part about soccer as a coach and a player, and you're still on the player side, is meeting people on the international level. You know, we had some international players at Philadelphia University, and just getting to know people from just small little holes in the walls in the middle of nowhere, like a town you've never heard of. And I'm sure that's been neat in Portland and in the Flash. It's getting to meet some of these international players, and you guys all get together, and you're like a sorority.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite thing about it. Like, you meet so many people. Like, last year in Portland, one of my roommates was from Africa.
Wow.
And, like, I met her, and I learned how her culture was. And, like, this year we had players from Colombia. Like, I have teammates from Germany, from Canada, from, like, Brazil. Like, it's just crazy, and it's, like, so cool. It's a simple text message away, and you can go visit them. And it's just, like I met people like you guys. Like, you guys are nice people, and, like, it's soccer. The soccer world's a small world, and it's a cool world at the same time, because you could send one text and you could be in another state with these people, but you don't see them every day, or you don't talk to them every day.
And I'm sure that neat part about it is, that's why I love the soccer community, that we're so open-minded, different cultures and different foods that, you know, that's what we love about our soccer team. We do a lot of, like, you know, go out for barbecues as a team. There's nobody, I ain't going to eat that. And that's the cool part about if you have a player like your African player saying, hey, I'm going to make some dishes. You're like, dude, bring it on.
Yeah. You learn to like it. Like,
so did some traveling out to Seattle at all. Now you've done this, going down to Carolina. And what do you know about North Carolina so far?
Oh, I know. I went there, I think, for the Final Four Showcase tournament.
Okay.
Like, a couple times we played in, and that's all I know, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's a really good state. Like I always say, have really good barbecue, really good people. I mean, you're going to get used to people holding the door for you. And that's the thing that still throws me off when I go down to North Carolina to see my family. I go into Virginia. It's just the Southern hospitality, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Like,
so what are you trying to say about Philly people? We don't like holding the door for anybody?
Where am I in that Philly thing? I've lived half my life in Philly, and I grew up the other half in Virginia. Not that Philly people do it wrong. It's just in Virginia, they're almost too nice.
Too nice, yeah.
Too nice in Carolina. It's like they try to have almost a conversation with you everywhere you go. And it does, I ain't going to lie, get on my nerves a little bit when I'm back home in Virginia. I'm just trying to buy something at the store, and they try to ask you about everything. And I'm like, just here to buy a pack of gum, man.
Do you tip the hat, too? Like, when
hey, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, so it is interesting there, where I think it's that we get so used to Philadelphia, where everybody's about their daily business, where you see different areas where people generally may care about you in Philly, but they don't care about you right now because they got to go somewhere. Where there, they'll stop and talk to you for a minute or two. They'll take a minute or two out of your day. Like, you'll have to get used to that when you have waiter service or bartender, that they generally will ask you how your day's going, and not because their job requires you to do it. You know, they're do it or whatever type of thing. It's just, it throws me off when I go home, and I still wonder why I left. So, but no, I think that also, like, the Carolina area is a hotbed for soccer. We've seen so many players, just basically UNC has become just this hotbed, and Duke, that you're going to be engulfed in an area that loves and embraces soccer. and I think it's going to be neat for them to get another pro team back into Carolina. And talking to your press guy, Marco, big shout out to him for helping a lot of this go down, that the Carolina soccer team was the first professional team to win a championship in Carolina, period. Not the Hurricanes. It was the Carolina Courage who won championships. That was the first ever professional team in the state of North Carolina to win a championship, was the women's soccer team. So
I think also logistically, I mean, you're an 8-hour drive from Philly.
Yeah.
A lot of planes go down there. I mean, the airport's easy to get into. It's not like Philly where it's a 2-hour line to get through the gate. So logistically, North Carolina's great. Every time we've been down there, it's
a great state. It reminds me a lot of my home state of Virginia, because it's got the ocean on one side, you got the mountains, and you got great food, and you've got some really good hiking. I don't know if you're into hiking in nature, but you might be into it soon.
I mean, living in Portland for 2 years, I love this, so I will be.
That's true, because it's interesting. See, I come from an area with a lot of woods, and then I came to an urban area, but I do miss that aspect of going out in the woods and just being out in nature. And that's the neat part about Portland. It's a city, but it's surrounded by green.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in a city for 24 years, you learn to venture out and go look at trees and waterfalls.
Yeah, especially soccer pitches. We're not exactly in Philadelphia used to playing on even if we don't know if it's grass, turf, dirt. It's a combo.
Rocks, cement,
cinders.
Philly turf. We should coin that term, John. Philly turf.
Philly turf.
Philly turf. We got some asphalt, some gravel, a couple syringes.
Literally.
So,
make a Wikipedia page and make it official.
I forget what coach I was talking to. Gosh, I know it was a Drexel coach. I don't know if it was the men or women's side. He's like, yeah, our practice got delayed last week. I'm like, why? There was a body on our field. So it's like, yeah, we're just going to play around them. We have to play, not play on the wing, man. We're going to double up on the left side.
It's normal.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, it's been great, having you on, and wish you the best of luck down in North Carolina. And we definitely want to see that franchise do well. And your squad, not the actual Carolina, but your squad is a repeat champion. So I'm sure you guys want to maintain that. When you're the champion, everybody's gunning for you, man. I'm sure you guys don't mind having a target on your head.
We don't. We're all excited for this new season, and we can't wait.
Especially the way you won the championship. I mean, all those guys got in as a 4th seed, and I think that's the neat part about the NWSL. It's not always the 1 seed that wins it. Yeah,
being ranked, I think, 9th or 10th in the beginning of the season, and then coming out first on top, it's kind of just unbelievable. Still unbelievable.
We'll wait for those preseason rankings to come out, because John and I have a field day with the preseason rankings. We're like, blah, it makes no sense. It's like the FIFA rankings.
Right.
It's like, come on, dude. It's like, so, but no, I want to thank a couple of your friends here, Carrie and Aaron, that drove you in tonight. It's good to have, chauffeurs and a limo service to get you into the studio. So
yeah, they're nice.
No, it's always good. We always welcome our guests to have friends and family in the studio, to help out. We do have I think we have 9 microphones here in the studio. We've never used all 9. But signing off, Charlie Flowe, John DiCriscio, Courtney Niemiec, North Carolina Courage. We'll be back next week. WPPM LP, Philadelphia. We're out.